Hello there and welcome to bnettv.com. I'm Michelle Sklar. We're here on the show floor at CTIA 2008 in Las Vegas. I am joined by Ray Anderson of Bango. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Okay, my pleasure.
Now, we obviously have opportunities in the past to speak with you guys. Always enjoy it. But for our viewers that are tuning in for the first time, give us a quick overview of what your company is about.
Okay, Bango is about helping people who want to use the mobile internet to reach people with mobile phones. So helping them build their mobile sites, like websites that work with mobiles, get people to those sites, and then, quite importantly, collect money from them.
Most importantly, collect money from them. Okay, so let's back up one moment here. I remember when the first time you and I met at CTIA, I think it was 1 or 2 ago, I can't quite recall, but I do know that you had just introduced the product line that allowed people to build their own mobile sites.
That's right.
So where has that come since you and I have had that chance?
Well, that product line proved very successful. It was called Bango to Go, to get people going. And in fact, what we've then done is taken that technology and spread it out into the industry. So we've helped a lot of smaller companies set up their own website building operations. So, you know, we achieved our objectives. We wanted to lower the price of getting into building websites and get them more widely spread, because our tools go into websites.
Okay. Now, for the person that's actually using your tools to build their own mobile sites, do I need to be a sophisticated programmer?
No. You can go, if you go to bango.com, there's a link that says make my own mobile site. Click on that and you'll follow a path that means that you can very, very quickly build your own mobile site.
Wonderful. And since we first spoke about that, have you added on different components as the industry has evolved and technologies are enabling more opportunities for people?
Well, in the early days, one of the things we were very interested in, as you said, was getting money from people. But we found very quickly that people wanted to make sites that mobile phone users could look at, but didn't want to necessarily make money. They wanted to share something or advertise something. So we made available a set of analytical products called Bango Analytics, and we launched that, in fact, only a few months ago.
Right.
And since then, we've had great success with that product. So it's not collecting money, but it's giving people who run these sites information about who's coming to their sites.
Right, absolutely. And we're going to get into the money question a little bit more, but interesting, you know, one of the topics of conversation, if you will, at CTIA so far is, are companies, are brands able to deliver to the customer what they want? And obviously that question leads to the metrics, if you will, and the understanding of who your customers are and how they're interacting with you and what more can you do. And obviously, you know, that's one of the services that you provided, especially for the small business owner.
Absolutely. And in fact, you said that having the site leads into who's coming to the site. And in fact, it's the other way around. If you don't find out who's coming to your site, you can't build something they'll want. So we've seen people who have been shocked to find out that people visiting their site may not be from the States. They're a hamburger maker or a travel company, shocked to find out that 90% of their visitors weren't from the States.
Right.
So what they then have to do is to either deal with them or send them somewhere else.
Right, absolutely. And I think it's interesting that, of course, with mobile devices, the opportunities to understand your market because of how a device works, you know, satellite or wireless, whatever the case may be, you're able to garner that information much more so than perhaps some of the mainstream advertising opportunities that we've been used to.
That's right. It's one of the drawbacks of the mobile web is that it's provided by the carriers, but that's also an opportunity because the carriers are in individual countries, they have their own groups of users, they have a lot of information about those users, so it's a lot more than a normal ISP would have on the traditional internet. Right.
So let's talk about making money.
Okay.
How does Bango help a small business, the enterprise side of things, make money? Okay.
Well, the prime thing you need to do is understand who's coming to your site, and then you can make a decision of, are you going to sell them something, or are you going to maybe sell advertising on your site? So we provide a huge amount of information about who's visiting your site. In fact, up to about 50,000 visits, you can get that information free. Sign up at bango.com, put some links in your site, find out who's coming to your site, where they're coming from. So you can immediately find out, oh, I've got some traffic I can sell to fund my little knitting pattern site or whatever it is. And then the second thing we can do is, if you have people,
about the niche market, isn't it?
Exactly. So let's say you had pictures of you, for example. People would obviously want to buy those at very high prices, or videos or whatever.
We're keeping him.
So if you wanted to sell those to people to download to their phones, you would want to do that. But the problem is you don't want to have a relationship with every operator in every country. You don't want to have relationships that mean that if there's no operator payment method, you can get money through credit card. That's what we sort out for you. You plug into us when you need money, we go and get it using all of our partnerships, and we make that available to you at little or no cost.
Right. I think that targeting that particular area is really important, because that can be something that can almost discourage people from wanting to embrace these new technologies when it's just too difficult to get your head wrapped around, or all the different components, and that's not my specialty. Maybe it is knitting patterns or, you know, fabulous photos or whatever the case may be, but in order for me to stick to doing what I know best, I need to be able to have partners, if you will. They're going to help me take care of all the other elements.
That's right. So I suppose that's where the expression "stick to the knitting" comes from. Yeah.
How about that? Now, I know one of the other services that you provide on the facilitating shortcode campaigns, because that's also something that has a lot of well, stickiness to it, shall we say. I know that, you know, even if you're looking at how you would facilitate a shortcode campaign in Canada, it's very different from how you ensure how you implement it in the U.S. or, you know, in Europe, or whatever the case may be. And it can almost be an impossible thing if a company
wants to go
have
global.
the right relationships type of thing, you know what I mean? And that's where you guys also play a very strong role in the marketplace.
One of the innovations we brought to market about 5 months ago was something we call the bango button. And we were getting a lot of problems with content providers who wanted to have a website, a normal desktop website, which had a link from that site to their mobile content. And the classic example is a band that has a MySpace site, and they say, on my MySpace site, I want someone to be able to download this music I'm sharing or spreading. Okay, classic example. The problem was they couldn't get shortcodes, because which shortcodes would they get? Because people read MySpace sites all around the world, and if they wanted a shortcode in the States, how would they get carrier approval for a MySpace page? It's impossible. It's, you know what they look like. They're all sort of impossible for carriers to understand. So, and in fact, there would be a risk that the moment they've approved it, they would change the MySpace site to something that was unacceptable to the carrier's shortcode program. So we came up with this idea of a button you could put that when you pressed it, it did whatever was necessary to get the site onto a mobile, dynamically adjusting to whether the person's used their mobile to go to the web before, whether we've seen the user before. So we tried to make it as easy as possible. There's a long way to go in that, but we've started to gain quite a lot of traction on that. So we've got Facebook, MySpace users expanding their sites out into the mobile world without having to worry about text messaging and all that sort of stuff.
Right, absolutely. Ray, do you have any new announcements at the show?
The big announcement of the show is that 2 or so months ago we launched our analytics product, so you can start measuring the performance of your site.
And is that what
That's what you can see here.
Okay.
Exactly. So behind us you can see some of the traffic that's being measured by people. But one of the most interesting facts is everyone's saying, right, I can now measure how high I can jump, and it's very interesting. But how high is everyone else jumping? And that's really interesting. So at the show we've published some very early information about click-through rates, about response rates, saying, look, everyone's jumping 2 feet, and you can now measure how high you can jump. Why don't you start jumping? So mobile advertising, we're saying, look, you can start mobile advertising, you can measure your success, measure who's coming to the site, and we'll start to tell you, and we're probably going to start doing this on maybe a quarterly basis, what sort of traffic other people are getting, what sort of conversion rate people are getting, because that should help people know how they're doing, well or not so well. And we see so many different content providers, we can come up with and so many different advertising channels, we can come up with a number.
Going back to the question that we'd originally started with, is are consumers getting what they want?
Exactly. And the indication at the moment is they're very keen to experiment. We're seeing a 2 to 8% click-through rate, which means there's some curiosity there that's driving people through. I would expect it will reduce over time, and we'll see that when we monitor the trends.
Ray, thank you so much for speaking with us today. We've been here with Ray Anderson of Bango. We're on the show floor at CTIA Wireless 2008 in Las Vegas. I'm Michelle Sklar with bnettv.com.